The storm had no name, only a purpose. It scoured the frozen world of Crystallas with diamond-hard ice shards, a howling void of white that rendered sensors blind and shields useless. Inside the straining cockpit of the scout vessel Wanderer, the human pilot fought the controls, her breath fogging the cold glass. Her name was simply the pilot, her focus absolute, her knuckles white on the stick. A sudden, silent surge of geomagnetic interference spiked across her panels. The main drive sputtered. The world outside the viewport, already a blur, became a violent spin. Alarms she had no time to acknowledge screamed their warnings. The last thing she saw was the flat, white plane rushing up to meet her, and the dark, jagged crack that ran through it like a scar. There was no mighty explosion, only a terrible, grinding shriek of composite metal being punished by ice. Then the shocking, enveloping embrace of frigid water. The Wanderer had punched through the frozen crust of a vast lake. Darkness and cold swallowed it whole. Emergency systems flickered, casting a dying blue light over the inverted cockpit. The pilot's head swam, a sharp pain in her side. She tasted copper. With numb fingers, she triggered the manual release for her harness, plunging into the icy water that now filled the cabin. The cold was a physical blow, driving the air from her lungs. It was a pain so complete it burned. Survival drills, drilled into her until they were muscle memory, took over. She oriented herself, found the outline of the shattered viewport, and kicked towards it. She pulled herself through the opening, into the open water of the subterranean lake. Above, a faint gray light filtered down through the hole in the ice ceiling, impossibly far. To her side, the bulk of her ship rested on a steep slope, a darker shadow against the deep blue dot. She would not reach the surface. The cold was leaching the strength from her limbs, the will from her mind. Her environmental suit was compromised, the heating systems dead. Her kicks grew weaker. The gray light above began to dim, to narrow into a tunnel. As consciousness faded, her descending hand, rushing the lake floor, touched something that was not rock. It was smooth and warm. The warmth was a faint pulse against her freezing skin. Instinct, a deeper one than training, made her turn her head. There, partly buried in the silty bottom, was a shape. It was organic, sweeping, colossal. It looked like a giant fossilized seed pod or a cocoon of iridescent pearl-like material. And where she touched it, a soft, golden light glowed from within. Her vision failed. Her lungs screamed for air they could not have. As the final darkness took her, she felt not the jarring impact of the lake floor, but a gentle yielding. The warm, pearlescent surface where her hand rested softened and parted, drawing her in. The pilot did not drown. She drifted dot. She became aware of two things. First, a profound, resonant silence, a quiet so deep it felt like a sound of its own. Second, a presence. It was vast, old, and dreaming. In the darkness behind her closed eyes, images flickered. Not her memories, but others. A soaring city of crystalline spires under a gentle amber sun. Beings of light and graceful form moving through gardens of singing flora. Then, a shadow falling from the stars. Machines of relentless, angular design. Fire, the fall of the spires. A great retreat, a final. Desperate gambit, hibernation. A long cold sleep beneath the ice. A queen preserving the last spark of her people. Waiting for a spring that never came. The present stirred, focusing on the fragile, fading life now cradled within its chamber. It sensed the pilot's memories, too. Sharp, bright, and short. The warmth of a yellow sun on skin. The laughter of companions. The gritty determination of a species that looked at the stars and built ladders to reach them. The pilot saw the alien history, and the present saw hers. It saw a species that, for all its brief and turbulent existence, shared a common thread with the lost ones of Crystallos. A thread of curiosity, of resilience, a will to persist. The presence made a choice. The last command of a queen. The pearl-like chamber filled not with liquid, but with light. It seeped into the pilot's body, mending the broken ribs, purging the water from her lungs, restarting her stilled heart with a surge of energy that was biological and something more. It wove through her neural pathways, a gentle integration. It was not an invasion, but an offering, a gift of knowledge, of physiology, of a legacy, and a request. The pilot opened her eyes. They were no longer entirely her own. The hazel irises now held faint, shifting constellations of gold, like galaxies swirling within. She took a breath, and the oxygen in the water around her was drawn to her, sustaining her. She understood, without knowing how, that she could breathe here. She sat up within the soft, luminous confines of the chamber, which now felt like a womb. The presence, the queen, was fading, her long vigil ended, her essence dispersing into the light that now filled the pilot. Remember, the thought was not a voice, but a feeling, an imprint on her soul. Show them we were here. The chamber dissolved around her, the pearlescent material flowing into her suit, reinforcing it, bonding with it in subtle ways. She stood on the lake floor, clad in a suit that now gleamed with a mother-of-pearl sheen. Her body hummed with vitality and a strange new strength. Above, the gray hole in the ice called. She bent her knees and pushed off from the bottom. Her ascent was swift, powerful. She broke the surface of the water beneath the ice and did not stop. She raised a fist, and a focused pulse of golden energy, a technology she instinctively understood, shot from her gauntlet. It was not a weapon, but a tool. The ice above her vaporized in a clean, silent circle. She climbed out onto the frozen surface of the lake. Into the teeth of the dying storm. The wind still howled, but it did not chill her. She looked at her hands, then back at the dark water. She knew what lay below. She knew the story now, and she knew the enemy. The memories of the queen showed her the despoilers, the harvesters. They were called the Vorina, and their sigil, angular and cruel, was one she recognized from Galactic Council intelligence briefings. A supposedly neutral species of traders and miners. A low rumble shook the air. Not the storm. Engines. Through the scattering clouds, a vessel descended. It was blocky, utilitarian, marked with the same angular sigil. A Vorana salvage claimer, drawn by the Wanderer's distress beacon. It settled on the ice a quarter-mile away, landing struts crunching into the frost. A hatch opened. Two figures emerged, clad in heavy environmental suits of gray metal. They moved with a confident, proprietary gait towards the hole where her ship had vanished. They scanned the area, their instruments no doubt pinging on the wreckage below, and on her. One of them spoke, his voice translated through external speakers, flat and toneless. Human survivor. You are fortunate. This system is under Vorana salvage jurisdiction. Your vessel is claimed. You will be extracted for a fee. The pilot watched them approach. She felt no anger, only a deep, crystalline calm. The queen's memories of these beings were not of traders, but of locusts. They did not mind dead worlds. They murdered living ones and stripped them clean. You are not salvagers, the pilot said. Her own voice changed, carrying a harmonic resonance that made the Vorana pause. You are gardeners who burn forests and call the ash a harvest. The two aliens exchanged glances, then unholstered compact energy cutters. You are disoriented. You will come quietly, or you will be quieted. The pilot did not move as they closed in. As the first one reached for her arm, she simply looked at him. The faint gold in her eyes brightened. A wave of force, invisible and silent, emanated from her. It did not strike them. It passed through them. The Vorana staggered. The cutter fell from limp fingers, clattering on the ice. They clutched their helmets, a raw, static-filled gurgle emitting from their speakers. The pilot had not attacked their bodies, but their minds. She had shown them, in a single crushing burst, what their people had done. The true memories of Crystallos, the fall of the singing spires, the genocide buried beneath the ice they now stood on. It was not data, but experience, drowning them in the consequence of their species' lie. They collapsed, unconscious, their minds overwhelmed by the truth. The pilot walked past them towards their ship. She placed a hand on its cold hull. The golden energy flowed again, not to destroy, but to understand, to command. The ship's systems opened to her. She accessed its communication array dot. She broadcast on all Galactic Council frequencies, the Vorana ship's transponder ensuring it would be heard. She sent the coordinates of Crystallos. And she sent data. Not just the Queen's memories, but the entire Vorana, logs of 100 salvaged worlds, the proof of their predations, unearthed from the ship's own secured databases. This is the pilot of the scout vessel Wanderer, she spoke, the galactic harmonies woven through her voice. I speak for the silent choir of Crystallos, whose song was stolen. Hear their proof. See their truth. The galaxy is not empty, and the dead have witnesses. She finished the broadcast and stepped back. In the distance, she could see the sleek shapes of human and allied council vessels breaking through the atmosphere, racing towards the coordinates. Their response was swift. The pilot looked once more at the hole in the ice, at the frozen lake that was a tomb and a cradle. The Queen's presence within her was quiet, a satisfied, fading echo. The work was begun. The story was told. She turned her new eyes towards the approaching ships, ready to report, to test.